Tomorrow, a good old-fashioned SEC game is going to be going on 3:30 CBS. Get ready for the snarky Gary Danielson comments to come your way, especially if you're a Tennessee fan. But we know what happened last year with Tennessee and Alabama. It was a crazy game. I'm down here in South Carolina. I was watching it. I was blown away. I know people who was at the game. They were like, wow, this is crazy. I'm watching TV going, wow, this is crazy. But it's a different game. It's a different year. It's a different quarterback. There's a little repayment to be made by the Tide. But if there's anyone who knows Tennessee football, it's my next guest. It's a friend of the show. He's always nice to come on, no matter how many times. I think he's a glutton for punishment, but he is fantastic. Everybody, Sports Talk Jay. John, how's it going, my friend?
Hey, what's going on there? Just getting ready. Well, we've been talking nothing but Alabama for a week. Up here, or down here, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you're in Tennessee. I'm in South Carolina, so that qualifies for up there. So I'm going to dive right in. Why in the world, other than his one magical game he had against my team? Joe Milton had one magical game in 6 years of college football, folks.
Yep. Man.
And it was against the orange and white, a different orange and white.
Yep.
But since then, so John Chapman, why should we believe that Joe Milton is going to go into Bryant-Denny Stadium and beat the Crimson Tide?
There's a couple of things that would have to happen for us to win, and I think it's possible, and here's why. I think Jalen Milroe, I believe, is hurt. I think he's got a hamstring pull, and that's why his rushing yardage has dropped dramatically. The previous 4 games, he averaged anywhere from 40 to 60 yards, which is actually pretty good for a quarterback because sacks count against their rushing. And then on October 5th, the rumor came out that he had an injury, that it might be a hamstring, but we never got it confirmed. The next 2 games, he went minus 37 yards and then minus 19 yards in the game after that. Now, this is a guy that is the fastest guy on Alabama's team just about. Matter of fact, at one point, they were thinking about making him a wide receiver. He's that fast. He's also incredibly strong. And now all of a sudden he can't run. That doesn't make any sense to me. A running quarterback's going to run. That's a big part of his game, and now he's not. So that's one possibility. And also our quarterback, Joe Milton, can run like the wind, but for some reason he doesn't like to run. Well, finally at the second half of Texas A&M, he started running the ball and had some great runs. We've seen him run an 81-yard play that he hit 21.3 miles per hour, which is crazy fast. And he runs like a 4.5, 4.6 40. So if we can get him running the ball and keep Jalen Milroe pinned in, that's how we could possibly win the game. But it's going to take both of those things, I think.
That's never made sense to me about Milton. 6'5", 240, 250 easily. A guy who has freak athleticism. But there was a play that happened this past Texas A&M game. It was 3rd down and 2. I think you know the play. Because the media has ripped him. People like myself, Tennessee fans have ripped him. It's 3rd down and 2 in Neyland Stadium. It's the checker route for Neyland Stadium. It doesn't get any more Tennessee friendly than this past Saturday. It's 3rd down and 2. He snaps the ball, I believe, far left hash. He starts rolling to the right. Texas A&M's defending it. And you're at this point to where Joe Milton, he only needs 2 yards. He's 6'4", so any math buffs out there knows that all he has to do is fall forward and he has 2 yards. He can run like a gazelle. What's he do? He keeps stringing it out. His wide receivers are standing out of bounds. He throws it away. Those are the things that you step back and you look at him and you go, man, if you can run this fast and you're this strong, and I believe he is, why don't you run more? Have you heard anything of why he prefers not to run the football?
No, but it's driven me about half crazy because there was a previous play where we got a free down. They were offsides, and it was 3rd down and 8. And he ran the ball, and he could have easily gotten the first down. He had the angle, and he ran out of bounds 2 yards short of the sticks. And then it was, okay, so we had to take the penalty. Now it's fourth down. No, I'm sorry. Now it's either third or fourth down and 2. We didn't get it. It's almost basically a turnover. So he actually did it twice in the game. I'd have no explanation whatsoever for that. There is no explanation that I can possibly think of for either one of those. And he's done that, I think, 4 times now. And I think it's situational awareness. And I don't know how you fix that.
Yeah, that's questionable. For me, I look at your running back, Sampson and Wright. These guys can play. You have Squirrel White out there, not only one of the most infamous names in college football, but you have a freak of an athlete. You have some good players. You have Brew McCoy, that horrible accident he's done for the season. But you have some great players out there. For us drive-by Clemson fans or maybe drive-by non-Tennessee fans, who should we be watching for this game to possibly make up for the poor decision-making of Joe Milton?
I would go with Jalen Wright. He has been our leading rusher, and he's running great. He really is playing confidently. He's patient too. And a good running back is always patient, and he waits for the hole to open, and then he accelerates. And he's had really a terrific season so far. And he's the number 4 rushing running back in the SEC. And we've got 2 other guys in the top 20. So it's hard to be that and not be the absolute primary guy. But he's really playing well. I'm looking for him. As far as wide receivers, Squirrel White will have to step up in this game. And I think he needs to ball out, because losing Brew McCoy was a huge loss for us. He was really Joe's go-to guy. He was his dog that he could count on third down. He has asbestos hands. He could catch any of Joe's passes. It didn't matter how hard he threw them. And that was a devastating loss for the Vols, and that I don't think people realize how big it was, because he's also our best downfield blocker. And he freed up a lot of plays past the 10-yard line, as far as running and passing. So I think those are the 2 guys I'm looking to play really well.
So many people forget the importance of downfield blocking by wide receivers. Wide receivers normally, and I can say this with Clemson being dubbed wide receiver U because of guys like Mike Williams, Nuke Hopkins, Sammy Watkins, T. Higgins, Amari Rogers, Hunter Renfrow, all these guys. What a lot of people forget is that during the time that Clemson was dominant, which, by the way, we're not anymore. I just lost some subscribers from Clemson. But anyway, was the unbelievable ability to block downfield. So when you lose somebody like a Brew McCoy who can lay the lumber to someone in the secondary while a run is breaking loose, I mean, that's a big deal. Do you see Tennessee trying to stretch Alabama vertically, or do you see them as trying to get the pass out to the perimeter to say Squirrel White and try to get him out open in space?
I'd say what they're probably going to try to do is spread Alabama out as much as possible. You'll probably see some of those bubble screens where it turns into basically an extended version of the run. I think you're going to see us try to run quite a bit and try to. I don't see how, if Alabama puts more than 6 in the box, then we'll definitely try to go downfield. If they start going one-on-one on Squirrel or Ramel Keaton and some of these other wide receivers they run 4.4, 4.5 40s. They're fast. They may not be high at fast, but they got some good speed to them. I think they'll try to stretch them, but they'll probably not do that because Nick Saban, it's his defense. He's the secondary guru, and he'll probably do the bend, don't break type thing, and we'll be able to run on them some. And then he'll probably just try to, beat us down over time and hope for Joe Milton to make a mistake, which he typically does. I would think that's how they'll probably play us.
Well, I can tell you from watching Alabama, I've watched Alabama a lot this year. I always watch Tennessee a lot because you're one of the major schools within driving distance of the upstate of South Carolina. I have watched Alabama, and I'll tell you what I would do if I was Alabama going after y'all. It's much what I would do to Alabama if I were y'all. It comes down to which quarterback makes the first dumb mistake or makes the most dumb mistakes, in my opinion, because you have Milton, freak athlete. We've got all that out of the way. He's a freak athlete. We know that. His decision making is so bad. So you question which, as you said, dumb mistake will he make? Then I turn around and I look at Milroe. If I was Tennessee, I would say we know the guy can't run because he's banged up. All right. Put it on his shoulders to make you beat him with his arm, because that's been a questionable thing with him. Would it not be smart for Alabama to do the same thing to y'all? Or, I mean, how do you see this thing playing out on both sides?
It's going to be tough for Alabama, I think, to do what we're going to do to them. We're going to go after Jalen Milroe hard. I think we're going to totally put it on his shoulders and make him beat us. It's going to be tough because we spread the field so much with our offense and the way in our pace that it might be a little bit difficult for them to really do that. But they've got those hosses on the defensive line. They might be able to get to us with just rushing 4. And the big thing that I think this is huge. They're playing at, what is it, Bryant Denny? It's Tuscaloosa.
Yeah,
that stadium, I think they're going to be up for us, and they're going to get that instant momentum. And I think that crowd's going to really lift them. That's why this is an uphill battle. This just flat out is. Nobody's picking the Vols. I mean, nobody. That's any of the ESPN, Vegas, any of that. There's not a soul out there that's picking the Vols to win this game.
Interestingly enough, if you go to the NCAA stats, first of all, defensively, Alabama's ranked 15th. Tennessee's ranked 17th. That might shock some people. So you guys, Alabama, your defense is a lot alike by stats. And I know an Alabama fan right now is spitting blood that I would even say that, but by the numbers, that's kind of where they're at. But if I go over to the offensive side of the stats for Alabama, folks, let me put this in perspective. Tennessee's averaging 443 yards per game. And they're a little heavier on the rush than the pass, but it's quite even. Alabama, 367 yards per game. They're not even in the top 50 of offenses, while Tennessee, on the offensive side of the football, they're maybe they're not top 10, but they're ranked number 32 offensively. So other than Bryant Denny, I always want to say Bryant Dennehy because, the actor, but other than that, and there being a little payback on the line, it's not out of the realm of possibility of Tennessee to actually pull this thing out. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. That doesn't happen to me a lot.
Yeah. This is a very troubled Alabama team. Arkansas darn near beat them. Texas A&M darn near beat them. I mean, they have really survived, and it's because, first of all, they've had a 5-star perfect quarterback, first-round pick for how many years in a row now? Tua, the other guys at Philadelphia now, obviously Bryce, and all these other guys. And now they've got a pretty good quarterback. He's not great. He's a lot better when he can run, but he's not a terrific decision maker. His arm's okay, but that's rare. They're just never in that situation. They've not been in that for 15 years. So that's what's hurting their offense. Our offense is in a similar boat. We don't have Hendon Hooker.
Yeah.
So
and what a player he was. I mean, coming out of VT, I mean, he looked nothing like that at VT. He was a good player, but but that shows you the importance of the proper coach and the proper player.
Yeah.
So John, let's have a few different scenarios. Let's just say that Tennessee gets to halftime and it's a tied ball game. Let's just say that the crowd, they came in, like you said, it's going to be loud. It's Alabama. We owe you for what happened last year. But maybe, just maybe, some things, but really doesn't go their way. It's a tied ball game at the half. How do you feel at that point? Well, I mean, what's the chance that you actually win in the ball game because you're in Tuscaloosa, you're tied. It seems like the team's playing good fundamental football. Do you legitimately think that you actually have a shot at that point?
Yeah, at that point, I would certainly. If we can get to the half, and we're within 3 points or ahead by 3 points, then I would feel very good about it. Heupel usually makes good adjustments. Typically, our defense is for real this year. It appears to me. James Pierce, that guy could be a first-round draft pick. His quickness off the ball is dramatic. I mean, it is. He blew up Spencer Radler for South Carolina. He blew up Max Johnson. Those guys, I mean, they needed to get a restraining order against that dude. I'm telling you. And then Tyler Behrens had a bunch of sacks. Omari Thomas. I mean, we got some cats that will flat get on you. So yeah, I think we've got a legitimate chance, especially if we can hang in there. We're going to need to hang in there and somehow win by 3 or 4 points. We're not going to, it's not going to ever be an easy win for us given the circumstances. It might be one for them. I could see them winning by 10 or 15 or whatever. If we win, it'll be by 3 or 4.
Currently, the line is at 9 points favoring the Crimson Tide. Nick Saban, when you look at him, when he goes up there to the podium, a place where he's been praised more times than not. I mean, my goodness, love him or hate him, he has, 7 national championships.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different than at Clemson, where our coach, who I appreciate everything he's done, but he's calling out the fans for being unhappy. It's a very different.
All about that. I heard all about it. I was going to do a show on it, but I've between work and doing it's Alabama week. Believe me, I was going to do a show on Dabo or whatever, however you pronounce it.
Well, if you need I'm inviting myself on. If you need someone to give you some color commentary, trust me, my blood pressure machine says I need to calm down over it. Let's talk about the Crimson Tide for a second. He's walking up there. You can tell he's bothered. This is not the regular team that Alabama and Nick Saban has. So you mentioned it, Arkansas. They were Alabama was ahead. And then blew it.
Yeah.
And only won by 3 points. Then you go to Texas A&M. You're at Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher is blowing it. They're going to fire him. I'm not going to be shocked when they fire him. They only won by 6 points. Now, they played Mississippi State, and Mississippi State, they're just trash. Mississippi, Lane Kiffin.
That was Lane's chance, man.
That was Lane's chance, won by 14. Yeah. Now, I don't want to go back too far from there because teams grow and they get in the rhythm and so on. To me, being realistic, yes, it's going to be tough winning in Alabama. I can see it happening. I picked the Crimson Tide to win this game, but I said, and I sent you the show, I said it's not out of the realm of the possibility that a different color of orange and white wins this ball game. So let's play devil's advocate, or not devil's advocate. Let's play another scenario. Let's say you get blown out of this game. What is the mindset and the approach of Tennessee at that point after you go and you get your head ripped off?
You'd hear a lot of chants saying, Nico, Nico. They'd want to see Nico if we get blown out. The 5-star number 1 player in the country that's sitting on the bench. If we get blown out, Joe must have played really bad.
So, another question with Nico. For any Tennessee fans who are watching me and you're like, please don't give us the whole background of Clemson football. I'm going to give this to you for a reason, because it does apply to Nico and taking over next year. The reason that we've seen some of the problems, out of the quarterback for Clemson, Cade Klubnik, a guy who never lost a high school game in Texas football at a high level, won state championship after state championship, but he's lost games at Clemson, is because he was the most ill-prepared quarterback in the Dabo Swinney era since Taj Boyd. You can go through quarterback after quarterback who sat behind someone and they worked him in so that once he finally got the keys to the car, he wasn't running it off a cliff. Okay. That didn't happen with Cade. All right. I look at Nico and I know that there's been some closer games, but in my opinion, as just a football purist, They should be getting Nico some reps a little more.
That
I
has
mean,
driven me crazy that he's not getting any important reps, no live game reps of any matter that matter at all. That's really driven me nuts. He should have played the entire second half of the UTSA game. So I don't really. I'm almost wondering if the coach doesn't want to start some sort of a QB controversy because the team loves Joe. They really do, and he's got a lot of supporters. And it would be tough if they started having a whole lot of controversy over that. You could split the team. You really could, especially in 2023.
we know one thing that is alive and well is the transfer portal. But the good thing playing on your side there is Joe's eligibility that I know of has ran out. So, he can't just hit the transfer portal. That would be the one plus to that side. And I will also say this to Tennessee fans. You have to understand what happened once again with Clemson. We would have lost that Syracuse game last year had they not benched DJ, who's, by the way, doing well at Oregon State. I think it's a better system for him. Their coach is really good at developing quarterbacks, so I'm pulling for him. But they had to bench him, bring in Cade Klubnik. Cade won the game. They benched him the next game and went on to Notre Dame only to get blown out. And so I'm telling you, as a football purist, y'all need to get him worked in. But any other players, maybe on the defensive side of the football that we're missing that could step up and have a good game? Maybe someone in the secondary that stepped up that shows a little more fight than everyone else.
Yeah, Haddon or one of our cornerbacks, Haddon, has he's got a couple of interceptions in a row in two separate games. One was a pick six. He's actually graded super high on PFF for the as far as prospects for NFL. I think that guy long term is going to be. He could show up big time in this game. That'd be one person. Aaron Beasley, who really he was the MVP of the Clemson Vols game, in my opinion. Even though Joe got it, I thought Aaron Beasley played out of his mind in that game, and he's really good linebacker. Probably those would be the two guys that out in the backfield, the defensive backfield, that would interest me the most in this game. That could really have a big impact.
Do you believe that Tennessee will go after Milroe and try to lock down the run and make him beat them with their arm and use these guys, put them in a place to where Beasley can make a play? Do you think that will be the approach of this game? Is there anything that you're hearing on the ground that maybe we're missing that is kind of the game plan?
I think that's absolutely the game plan. It's what I would do. It's obvious. And here's the thing, none of us want anybody to get injured or anything like that. But in football, injuries are part of it. And when somebody's not 100% and they're in a critical role like quarterback, you're going to go after them. You have to. And that's, they're going to, if I'm seeing the numbers, they're seeing the numbers. I can, if they're not, I'll put my video out there. Maybe they will. They're going to go after him hard and probably the entire game, because that's the obvious thing to do. Stop the run, put everything on his arm. And if he beats you, he beats you. So be it, live with it. But otherwise you have to, what else are you going to do? That's it. That's the game plan.
Playing scared has never worked for any team. It's not a strategy at all. But I will say this, and I can tell you once again from unfortunate experience, once you get enough money involved, what is obvious to you and I no longer becomes obvious to other people. But Heupel seems to have a pretty good grip on it. And that's one thing that I like that you said. You're not trying to hurt anyone, but I'm going to tell you this. If someone is hurt, you don't have to spear them. You don't have to take a cheap shot. Just keep hitting them.
Yeah.
Just keep hitting them, and it's going to wear on them. They're going to become antsy. So I believe that if Tennessee will adopt that, and most of all, Milton will not have to have the game on his shoulders, which I think that's what Alabama's going to try to do. I really think you guys could legitimately win the game tomorrow. But any other closing thoughts for us, Sports Talk, Jay?
No, but I'm very surprised that Cade Klubnik has not worked out better this year. I thought he was going to ball out, and I think y'all have had some freak turnovers that that the Duke game is the craziest turnover situation I've ever seen in my life. You completely dominated the game, but on the scoreboard, it looks the exact opposite. I watched that game and I was like, why doesn't Clemson just walk over there and hand them the ball and be done with it? Because it was like they get down on the 2-yard line, fumble, 1-yard line, fumble, 5-yard line, some weird freak turnover would happen. And it just, I've never seen that equal it. And then I think the other game y'all lost, I think a lot of that happened again.
Well, when we lost to Florida State, we were blitzing a lot, and Jordan Travis was beat up, and we called the blitz off. And I had a Clemson fan ask me, John. They went, "So, do you mean to tell me that we were supposed to continue blitzing every play?" Abso-flippin-lutely, because when he had a chance. When Jordan Travis had a chance to throw to a 6'3", a 6'4", a 6'7" wide receiver, he completed it. Not because our defense is bad. It's because you give athletic giants the chance to go up and catch a football and you give them a good pass, you're going to have a problem. But anyway, as you can see, I'm starting to lose it. But the Duke game, you're right. Over 200 yards rushing, over 200 yards passing, 12 more first downs, only one penalty for 5 yards, had the ball 11 or 12 more minutes than Duke, lost by 3 touchdowns. So, that game was psychotic. For a lack of it almost looked like it was like a movie. It's like everything bad that could happen to one team that was totally dominating. And, and of course, Clemson losing 2 games, they're out of the playoff. So that's just kind of the way that it is. And I don't know. I'm just very surprised that I thought Cade Klubnik would ball out this year. I really did. And it's not quite clicking for him for some reason, especially with the offensive coordinator that you brought in. But like I said, that's an opinion from the outside looking in. Well, I can tell you this, my friend. The keys to the car has recently just been supposedly turned over to Riley, but there's a lot of rumblings that Riley is still not calling all of the plays, that Dabo still has a lot of influence.
I think that's what's happened with Jimbo too, over at Texas A&M.
I mean, look, here's the deal: you're either going to be a head coach or you're going to be offensive coordinator, and we need to call that. And another thing for non-Clemson fans who doesn't know this, remember when Dabo Swinney, and I love the guy, but a lot of things have changed at Clemson, and I'm just going to leave it at that. But he was not a coordinator; he was a wide receiver coach who took over as interim. So he needs to let the X's and O guys do what they were doing to win championships, which he won, and let Garrett Riley be Garrett Riley. Transparently, this, in my opinion, is just not on Cade. It's on his preparation, and it's on the poor coaching around him. Also, remember this too, John. We have 5 offensive position coaches, from what I can remember off the top of my head: offensive line, tight ends, running backs, wide receivers coach. None of them has. 2 of them has never been a coach before. And the 2 of them are high school coaches who just came on out of major high schools he brought in. And then one of them spent 2 years at Georgia State.
Yeah.
So you have no experience around. It's like, hey, you get a chance and you get a chance. And it's like, you can't build a team like that. But I feel like, anyway, it's crazy. It is crazy. But
I feel like y'all have almost, and I know I'm not a huge luck person, but it almost feels like y'all have been the most unlucky team in the first part of the season that I've almost ever seen. That's what it looked like to me. And I'll go be the first to tell you, I'm going to root for the underdog. You know, when y'all were playing Duke, who's not going to root for Duke? Because y'all have dominated them for umpteen years. Oh, yeah. And I'm just sitting there going, it's like I'm making it happen just to help Duke out because they're such a basketball school. And it just seems like y'all we're very unlucky. And
you're probably
maybe, you create luck, but some of those plays were ridiculous. They don't happen.
You're probably sitting there going, if I can make this happen, Lamborghini.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sitting there going, there's no way Duke can beat Clemson. There's no way. There's absolutely no – and y'all were just moving the ball at will. You were killing them the entire game, and I kept going, why is the score going the opposite direction? It was really nuts. And I was watching Pigskin Pete was doing a live reaction to the game, and he did such a good job of not losing his mind because he was just like, "What's how it what?" It was just like in shock, and you could hear another voice going, "What's happening? What is this?"
His wife.
I did little clips of it. That's how I know about the game, because I did clips. I think I did a reaction to it because it was such an insane game to me that made no sense. And yet it looks like from the box score that y'all just got totally dominated. Oh my God, it's 3 scores. And then you look down and it's like they had 97 first downs and Duke had 12. And you're sitting there going, what in the hell is going on?
I know people who were at the game, and they told me that they have never experienced such a weird vibe.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a vibey voodoo guy and all that bunch of crap, but I'm just saying it was weird. You know, the game was on a Monday night. It was Labor Day at Duke. Why are we playing at Duke? Opening game, because Duke did an expansion to their stadium a few years ago. Now it's up to 40,000 people. I mean, it's like nobody cares about Duke football. And it's everything went against Clemson. And then I think it was Josh Pate from the Late Kick who put up some type of, stat that Clemson has over 54 or 5-star players. Duke only had like 2 4-stars on the entire team.
Yeah.
Well, just got massacred.
That game, it looked from watching that game, it looked like Clemson was completely dominating the game. And it made no sense other than just incredibly bad luck. And Klubnik, maybe as he gets older, that won't be a problem, but maybe it's just, I can't explain it. But, y'all had a problem scoring against us, and you were moving the ball at will in that game too. And I was kind of tying that together going, maybe he just hadn't got it all together, being able to finish. And finishing's hard to do in the red zone, man. It's tough. But that game against Duke, there was some voodoo going on there, man. Something wasn't right.
It was like someone switched out a football, and the football that they brought in was just covered in grease, and nobody could hold on to it. So, well, my friend, best of luck to you and the Vols. Everybody, if you don't know who Sports Talk Jay is, get with the program. Go over there and tell him that you saw him here on the show, the Not Bobby Durkin Show, and subscribe to him. Drop him some good words. He does some great stuff over there. And for some of you who are from the Sports Talk Jay world, you're over here, I hope you subscribe. It's free. And then you're like, well, what does Not Bobby Durkins mean? Well, Bobby Durkins is my redneck alter ego. By the way, a lot of people in the Clemson community hates my guts. I just did a video a couple of days ago. Beamer breaks foot. There's Bobby Durkins there with his demented look. Nice shade of toenail polish, Shane. Y'all should go check that out when you get a chance. Also want to let you know we're doing a giveaway right now. It's the small version of these. This is a prototype. We'll be giving these away. And also want to send out another shout out to 4puttcarts.com. They're a beverage and cart service. They're sponsoring the show. So if you have a special event, you're in the South, you need to get in touch with them. They're great. They're wonderful. And let them and the Sawmill Shop, the link below, know that I was talking about them. And this time, not in a, bad way. So, John, thanks for being on. Everybody go say hello to him. And I will be doing a show tomorrow, pregame, unless, Lord willing, nothing bad happens. I'll be doing a pregame of the Clemson. Who are we playing tomorrow? Clemson at Miami. I just lost it. Clemson at Miami.
Ooh, that should be
good. Don't mock me, John. The halftime show, and then if I still feel like win or lose, I'm going to do a post-game show. So, John, thanks for coming on. I wish you guys the best of luck. I will be tuning in to see what happens. If it's live, I might even drop in. So,
all right, cool beans.
All right, folks. As always, go Tigers.